Hello everyone, greeting of the day. Dear authors and invited guests, welcome to Technical Session 8C. Myself Prashi and this session will be moderated by me. On behalf of Global Knowledge Research Foundation and GR Scholastics LLP, it is my great pleasure to welcome you to the 10th International Congress on Information and Communication Technology ICICT 2025. London, United Kingdom. The 10th edition of this conference is being organized in a hybrid mode. The physical event was held the day before yesterday in London, United Kingdom, and the virtual event is being held through Zoom from 19th to 21st of February 2025. I hope you will enjoy the knowledgeable and interactive session through the day. In this session, we will have six representations. Each presenter will be given 12 minutes for presentations and 3 minutes for question and answers. On the 10th minute, I will raise a gentle reminder. There is another request to all the participants that you stay connected with us till the closing remarks. If you have any queries or update, you can write it to me in the chat box. Just before we start our session today, I would like to introduce you all to our session chair for this session, Professor Zlinka Kocheva. Professor Professor Zlenka Kocheva is a professor at the Institute of Mathematics and Informatics, Bulgaria Academy of Science, Oman. Her research focuses on mathematics, information systems, OLAP, neural networks, and data mining. With extensive teaching experience in higher education, she specializes in automatic systems for data processing and management, contributing to advancements in computational and analytical methodologies. I request you, ma'am, to kindly give us your words before we start with our session today. If you'd like to say anything before we start.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be a chair of this session, and I congratulate all the participants. Unfortunately, I don't see at this moment all of them, but I hope that they will appear during the session and we will have a very successful meeting today.
Hopefully, ma'am. Thank you so much. We will start with our session and I'll call out the first participant for the session, ma'am.
Okay. The first participant I don't see in the list of participants. Is Miss Varsha Naik here?
I don't see her either, but I do see our third participant over here. So I'll just call out our third participant for the day.
Okay.
Gujrata Pankoswa, presenting a paper on the title Business Information System Consultant Competencies. I request you, ma'am, to kindly take over this session with your presentation, please.
Good morning. Can I start? Yeah, presenting?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. Moment. I share my screen. Just a moment. Okay. Okay. Maybe I go in this way. A second. Okay. Do you see my screen? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I am from University of Economics in Katowice in Poland, and today I will have opportunity to present my speech on business information system consultant competencies. So maybe I will somehow move it. I don't know how to, because it's anyway. Okay. So the general agenda of my presentation will concern the following issues, like problem statement, theoretical background of consulting or consulting services, and also the framework I would like to present on information system modeling for so-called pre-implementational analysis. Next, I present the consultant roles and competencies, And I would give a case study example of application that for university master studies, when we have such a course on consulting project. It is the name of this course. It concerns consulting services. So let me go to the next slide. Maybe in this way. Sorry. Okay. So the problem statement. I'll make this way. So in general, there is an issue that I have noticed in talked in with companies, with big companies like Accenture, Ernst& Young. There are huge companies, particularly for consulting. And I noticed that they prepare their employees to these consulting services. However, we at the university, we are constantly thinking how we could help that big companies to prepare the appropriate graduates for such services. In general, this business consulting, on information system consulting, the people focus on analysis, on strategy planning, on system development. They're working and risk managers, quality managers, and so on. So what is important for the huge companies for consulting? The number, the morale, the commitment, as well as the competencies. All these issues are important for the company success. So the question is, should university teach or not? And if we think that university should teach students to be consultant, how and what we can do for that? So first, here, how it is in theories. There are a lot of papers, but mostly they are provided by these companies, I mean consulting companies. But in the various references, I found that the focus is on the communication between the consultants and the business people. The second issue is that it is work in certain risk environment and with the huge uncertainty. So when we are working in the very changeable environment, and the people who are working in consultant must be very creative, agile, must react quickly. So there is another important issue like asymmetry of knowledge. The consultant are working for the customers and they expect the customers certain transfer of knowledge. And of course, they have various tasks, the people, various methods, resources, and then I found even the standard ISO 2700, which determines guidelines for managing these consulting services, provide transparency, understanding, providing values, and so on. So the issue which we would like to focus is the risk connected with the consultant. And I think that there are many kinds of risk, like, for example, lack of qualifications, lack of support, lack of involvement, and the lack of communication between client and the consultant. And of course, confusing intention. And yes? Any question? Sorry? Do you hear me? Everything is okay? Yeah?
Yes, Sam, everything is okay.
Okay. So there are various kinds of risk, and the company must, consulting company must somehow cope with that, manage the risk. And what universities can do for that? Yeah, that is our question. How we can help? And first, we would like to present the certain information system modeling framework. I use the Archimate language and I emphasize certain, I would say, concept. So there is, at first, there is a business stakeholders, and they have particular requirements, various kinds, functional, performance, interface. They have the goals which they would like to achieve, and certain drivers, they stimulate them to actions. And of course, they are working in the environment full of regulations, principles, laws, and so on. They call it principles, but there is important issue so-called compliance, compliance with legal regulations. So, and that regulations are also changeable very quickly. So this environment is very dynamic, and what we can do. So generally, I would say that by examples that the work of consultants concern prototyping, workshop training, project controlling and auditing, feasibility studying, and so on and so on. And there are only some examples. Anyway, it is very important that the consultant company, they take, I would say, the active role in the systems development, architecture development, and they provided services. But finally, the responsibility belongs to the customers, the clients. So this cooperation among the consulting company and the client sometimes is very difficult. And here I specified the roles and the competencies of consultant. So it is for university our goals that we must prepare our students to have these competencies like analytical thinking, user experience design, requirement elicitation, soft skills, prototyping, and so on. There is a kind of specification. That I figure I was able to create because of the, I would say, interviewing and talks with four consulting companies, which were very open and helpful for me, as well as they are working for our university. I mean, they really help us to create the program of studies because they are interested in receiving finally the good graduates, suitable for their work. And we have such a course, master level, which is named Consulting Project. And this course is developed in strong cooperation with consulting companies. So the students which choose this course, they must take into account the very important course prerequisites. So that courses like economics, operational research, project management, statistics, machine learning methods, database management, and so on, they must be always I would say passed. The exams must be passed. They students are requested to learn languages, now important, and also methods, various methods. And with these methods are connected with tools, but because of the financial limitations at the universities, the consulting companies, they accept any open source tools, but they ask students which tools do they know, which support the qualification. Python, for example, is open source, so it's very, very popular, probably because of that also. So there were course goals concern, development, good communication, critical thinking, and in general the soft skills, and the students are requested to develop a project in strong cooperation with the consulting company, and this consulting company is evaluating the project results. So in this project, the students are requested to model processes, prepare the prototype in any low-code applications. Also, they are requested to prepare the project documentation. And what is very interesting for consulting company, the student prepared a pitch deck and they present the result. So, but it is not such a one action. It is a process. The consulting is a process. So the course is developed in very strong cooperation with the consulting companies. Yeah? The students are divided into subgroups and they cooperate constantly, talk with this consulting company representative. We know that it is the strong efforts because the consulting company must spend time for their activities with students. Anyway, it is our proposal, our way to prepare the students for this consulting company work. Of course, there is still an open question, and many consulting companies, they reject this offer from the university, and they have the opinion that they prepare the students and they teach the students by themselves, and there is no need to prepare. So that is my, I would say, dilemma, and I think that all what I would like to present. Yeah, that is, yeah. Thank you so much. If you have
Thank
any
you.
question, yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Pankowska, for the very interesting presentation. Actually, business information system is really very important, and one of the problems, very big problems of creating and developing such systems is creating a big data warehouse which collects information from different sources for the company. And do you think that there is enough education support? I mean, enough courses in the university which teach such problem, how to create data warehouse, how to collect information from different sources in different formats?
Yeah, that is a very good question, and I think it is still a challenge for universities. I would say that universities mostly, have no access to the big data repositories. So the students can learn by examples, yeah, but these resources which are available for them. And what we are doing, the students are able to create data repositories for their own. They create artificial data repositories to practice the methods because they have no access to the real data because of the protection, yeah, banking, finance, and so on. Students have no access to that. After the studies, they are working for a company. The situation is changing absolutely because they are then working for a company. Yeah, but for education, yeah, we are very limited in this topic, access to the big data. Yeah, that is. But the solution is use artificial intelligence, machine learning to create data for themselves.
Yes, yes. Anyway, they have to study, even
Yeah,
using artificial data.
yeah, that's true.
It
Yeah.
is absolutely necessary because really it is the biggest problem from my experience because I was working in this area and I know how difficult it is.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that is.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
I wish you success in your future research
Thank you so
in
much.
this very interesting and actual area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we will go on to our next presenter. Our next presenter is Martin Mayembe, presenting a paper on the title Church Management System based on Microservice Architecture and Cloud Technologies. If you are available with us, I request you to kindly take over with your presentation, please. Okay. As we don't have our
Hello.
presenter right. Okay. Yes, sir. Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay, okay. I just request you to kindly
I'm
take
just,
over. Yes, sir.
all right. I'm sharing my screen now. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
All right. Let me just select my camera. All right. All right. Thank you again. My name is Martin Maembe, and I was authoring this paper with Professor Jackson Piri. I am a student at the University of Zambia, and Professor Jackson Piri was he was my supervisor. So, as it has been mentioned, I'm presenting on the paper entitled Church Management Systems based on Microservices Architecture and Cloud Technologies. Um, so, so this is my agenda. Okay, so I'll go through the introduction, the problem statement, the aim, the objectives, the research questions, significance of the study, literature review, the methodology that I used, and then the results, which involves the conceptual framework, the prototype development, the implementation, the results and findings, recommendations, future works, and finally my references. So basically, my introduction is churches are religious organizations, and these generate and have to manage data like any other organization. The only thing is that they have been doing this using manual processes. So obviously, this leads to a lot of inefficiencies. So many of these kinds of organizations have now been turning to digital management systems to both streamline their processes and manage their data. However, migrating to digital platforms has presented its own challenges for these kinds of organizations. So this study basically was just about trying to figure out what these challenges are and then find a way to sustainably address these challenges by proposing a viable solution for these organizations. Okay, so I delved into the research. So I tried to ascertain what are the challenges, okay? What are the challenges faced by these kinds of organizations? So one of the challenges is that many of their systems are built following the monolithic architecture. So this kind of architecture comes with its own limitations. So the platform independence, limited adaptability and maintainability, just to name a few. And so these organizations struggle then to, adapt their systems in the work of evolving needs. So in situations where they need to change their systems to adapt them to new needs, they struggle because monolithic systems are usually not that flexible. Okay, financial constraints also come in implementing fully fledged systems, because for monolithic systems, you actually have to develop the system in full before you can deploy it. So these are some of the challenges I was able to find. So then the question becomes, how can we find a viable solution that resolves these challenges in a viable manner? Okay, so I think there stated is the problem in a nutshell: the pressing need for a cost-effective, modular, and scalable solution that can be incrementally implemented and easily adapted to the dynamic church operations. So the aim was to develop an effective framework for the development of church management software and develop a functional prototype to demonstrate the effectiveness of this framework. So I had 3 objectives in this study, and these include establishing the challenges associated with the current development of church management software, and then coming up with a framework to resolve those challenges, and then a functional prototype to demonstrate the effectiveness of that framework. So those are my research questions related to the objectives, as we saw. So the significance is that if there are any other kinds of organizations that face similar, so to start with, the framework will be designed to to be adjustable, adaptable, and scalable, affordable even for churches of varying sizes. So any kind of church organization can utilize the framework. And then other organizations that face similar challenges, like nonprofit organizations, can use the framework as well in the development of their software. Okay, so I think I will just gloss over the literature review. So this is the process I went through in trying to come up with this framework. So first was problem identification and motivation, and then define objectives of the solution, and then do the design and development, do the demonstration, the evaluation, and then iterate here until we have the optimal design, and then we communicate the findings. So this kind of research method is called the design science research. This is the method I followed. So identifying the challenges. So I did this. This was done using the review of existing church management systems. So the architectures that they are made on, and then we identify the common pitfalls from there. So we analyze the architecture and the scope of the systems that were built. Okay, so the development of the framework. So then we conducted another review to just find out, are there any solutions that try to solve these problems, and then use all of that knowledge and the knowledge of the problem to try and synthesize a framework that could then be easily useful for church management. And then that was the method I followed in developing the prototype. So what were the results and findings? Okay, so like I mentioned, a number of papers were looked at, and it was found that all of them followed development using the monolithic architecture. They were all developing church management systems, and they used monolithic architectures. Okay, so there were challenges. That they faced. So one of them is the issues of platform independence, and there were scalability issues or maintainability issues, and this led to challenges in developing and maintaining the systems. So one of which was the lack of flexibility. I think during the COVID, we noticed a shift. Churches were going online, and they were trying to, change the systems to adapt them to that situation. And many of them struggled to do this. Okay, so the lack of platform independence, because their systems are developed using volunteer developers who may have specialties in different programming languages. So it was tricky to have these people coordinate and create something that that would work for the church. Okay, so maintenance challenges. So because this is sort of like spaghetti model. So developers who didn't take part in the development of the system and come later and try to maintain the system was a bit difficult for them, because every feature of the system is lumped into one code base. So this is just a summary of the literature I looked at, and you can see this is just a sample. You can see that the architecture was consistently monolithic, and just a subset of the operations were implemented for each system. So there was no system that was able to implement all the operations of any given church. So this was the framework that we came up with. So we decided to create a framework that would be based on the microservices architecture. And this will allow for the modularity and the scalability, the easier scalability and maintenance of the system. So you can see that we had one service and another service on one end, and we had a service bus. So this, to enable communication between these services, we use Apache Kafka. And because integration with Apache is a bit complex, so we put in a Kafka interface. So this component was just meant to manage the communication between the different services with Apache Kafka. So this made it easier to develop. So if you are adding service number 3, you don't need to do the configurations to get into Apache Kafka, but you just plug into the interface and you're good to go. So this is how it was working. So one service would produce a message request. This would be pushed to Kafka, and that would be produced to a given topic. And the other service is able to consume that through the interface. So developed a prototype. So this was the design of the prototype according to that framework. So I focused on 2 major areas: church member management system and church finance management. And so these 2 were implemented in that manner. So they just worked the similar ways in which as I explained in the framework. So as you can see on the church member management system, this maintains the membership records, the family record, all records about the members. Whereas on the finance system, this recorded church finance transactions. So some of the challenges that we're trying to pin here is that, to tackle rather, is that when members do their contribution, they want to see the report of how much they've contributed in a given month or in a given year. So we had these systems communicate so that a member logged into the church management system, a church member management system, can be able to see their financial records from the other system. This was done through communication via Kafka, through the Kafka interface. So the systems were able to communicate, exchange data, and each of them maintained an abridged version of the database from the other system. So this allowed the systems to be able to run without necessarily depending on the other system. So if one system goes down, then this one will keep running. So what did I use? So Apache Kafka was used. The U2 PHP framework was used for both services and the Kafka interface for ease of development, because the U2 framework is pretty easy to use and is very robust in terms of security. So that's why we use that one. So it comes with Bootstrap 4 and JavaScript for the user interface. The MySQL database was used, and these were hosted on a virtual server on a computer. So that's called the XAMPP virtual server. So on the user profile, when they logged into the member system, this is what they could see when they check their contributions. And once on the other system, the contributions have been recorded, the contributions are able to show up. So this is basically what the system looked like. So what did we find after doing all of this and evaluating the solution? So we found that the system was reliable. Like I said, because each system was able to keep an abridged version of the database in the other system. So when one system was taken down, so we simulated downtimes. When one system was taken down, the other continued functioning. And when it was brought up, it could consume the messages that the other one that was running was producing. And so it would come back to they would be able to synchronize and have a consistent state in terms of the data they were working with. So it was easy to scale because, scaling one module did not necessarily affect the other one. So if there was high demand, for example, if there's an event that requires members to do a lot of donations, we could increase resources for one given module. Resources like RAM or
Excuse me, sir.
storage.
So sorry to
Sure.
disturb you, but we have crossed the 10 minutes mark. I request you to kindly wind up as soon as possible, please.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And so it was easy to scale in that way. It was also easy to maintain. So because there was separation of concerns, one module handled only specific business processes. So it was pretty easy to maintain. And the modular deployment was another pertinent benefit, because then churches could develop and deploy modules as and when finances become available. Also, the issue of platform independence was also very key, because then developers within the church that volunteer to help develop the system, even if they had different programming languages that they're used to working with, they could easily work together on different modules. So these were some of the findings. So these are the recommendations. It was, I think, basically what we found was that it was a very key thing for every organization to critically look at their needs before deciding on which architecture they should go with, whether or not they should go with a microservices architecture or maintain a monolith. The middle ground was the modular monolith, but it is still platform independent. Therefore, organizations that were identifying with the challenges that we were able to bring out in this study could easily use this framework, design their systems following it, and it was easy to manage and develop and even integrate future requirements. So basically, what I would love to do is to work more with other developers and administrators from other organizations so that we continue to refine the framework, that it works, and not just for church or religious organizations, but even for other organizations at large. Those are my references, and I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muebe. I have a question. Actually, a church management system is really very interesting, and I think there are no so many systems of such kind. Where did you apply your prototype?
Oh, okay.
Did you apply it where?
Yes, thank you. Okay, so I was moving a little bit too fast, but we selected one church in Zambia. That is where I come from. So we selected one church that is close to the university. It's called the University SDA Church. So if you notice in my system implementations, in my screenshot, we have the logo there, University SDA. So yeah, we collected the requirements from there, and we were able to implement the system following those requirements.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Are there other questions? If there are no questions, we can go further.
Yeah, my one question to you is, how do you see your work will handle the challenges of IoT and AI in today's scenario? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay.
Yes, I got your question. So and this is I think the key thing that we're trying to resolve, because we needs keep changing as technologies come up. So the framework allows us to be able to integrate new technologies, new needs as and when they arise. So for example, with IoT, because these frameworks, just these different modules of the system, just need to communicate with each other. So you can deploy anywhere and access them from anywhere that you need to. So if you want to, implement something in the church that controls the different devices, perhaps the security systems and all, you're able to deploy that and put it onto the system and connect it to the Kafka interface, as I had shown here. So you can, any service you want to add, you can just plug it in and plug it in.
Yeah, this was just a suggestion, as we cannot think of any application which is not IoT supported and doesn't have AI along with it.
Mhm.
So if you've just started with your research work or maybe the project work, I think this should be considered. This should be the prime, consideration for making it. Thank you so much.
Definitely. And I would even like to add that it is something that we are thinking about because, for example, if you see we're getting church member information and finance information. So if we apply AI models to that, I think it would give us very interesting analytics to just understand the church dynamics and will actually help in the decision-making processes of the church administration. So that is actually a very key insight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we move any further, I would like to introduce you all to our session chair, Dr. Neha Tiwari. Dr. Neha Tiwari is working as an associate professor and additional head in the Department of Computer Science and IT at IIS, deemed to be University Jaipur. She is research supervisor with an experience of more than 16 years and has also supervised students in a variety of projects. Her research domains include networking, machine learning, blockchain, databases, software engineering, and cloud computing. We welcome you to the session, ma'am. Would you like to say a few
Thank you
words
so
before we
much.
begin with the other presentations?
No, thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to just a second. Now I would like to call up our next presenter for this session, Williams A. Arya, presenting their paper on the title Development of Photovoltaic Fuel Less Power Generating System from Mechanical Waste Implications for Clean Energy Generation. If you are available with us, I request you to kindly take over with your presentation, please.
Yes, I'm available. Just 1 minute, please. I'm
For sure, sir.
available.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Please, just 1 minute.
for sure, sir.
Okay, I'm set. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you and we can
Yes,
see your
yes.
presentation.
Okay. Thank you so very much for this opportunity to be part of this conference. As you can see, the title of my. Can you see me as a person?
No, sir, right now we can't.
Okay, I need to get that sorted out. Okay, I guess you can see me now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. The topic is developing photovoltaic fuel-less power generating system for mechanical waste implication for clean energy generation. And the project itself, this study itself, uh, happens to address two sections of the SDG, clean and affordable energy. That's SDG number 7 and SDG number 9 that talks about industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Now, before I go ahead, let me start this. These are the contributors to this particular work, and this should be my outline and introduction. The quest for energy is on the rise. Every now and then, people just want to get more energy, more energy, more energy. But unfortunately, the quest for energy also leaves behind it a lot of damage, as we can see with the issue of global warming. Now, every nation that really wants to develop must not take the quest for energy lightly. I come from Nigeria, specifically I'm from Covenant University. We have a lot of power outages in my country. So everyone is trying to seek for opportunity to ensure we get power, or preferably clean energy. And that is the essence of this particular work. Now, the beauty of it is that most of the components used were locally sourced from what you will call scrap in my local language here. Now they were gotten from what persons felt were no longer good. They're supposed to be thrown away. So from them, from such material, we pick out vital components that believe could be useful. And we see for the material and method. The material used were a 1 horsepower 12-volt DC motor, 12-volt 100-amp battery, 650 watts alternating current alternator. Then you have a direct current alternator, 250 watt solar panel. Because we said photovoltaic, and 30 amps charge controller together with a seaward survey 200R meter. Now, these are just some of the components that we use for the process. Now, this block diagram, I will use to explain what we actually did. The photovoltaic is where we harness the sun and the energy from the sun through the technology that has been created by that device, being able to convert light to electricity. Now, the charge controller picks up the energy from the photovoltaic to charge up your DC battery, which then drives the DC motor. The DC motor is known as the prime mover. What it does is to rotate the shaft that carries the alternator to generate an AC power. And that AC power is in turn, a fraction of it will be used to drive the alternator B, which is a DC alternator, to generate power to give a feedback DC power into the battery. What does that imply? Is that it tries as much as possible, if not to completely do it, but to retain the power in the battery so that the energy that is being generated will be fairly constant. Now, why the AC voltage, which we're interested in, is generated by the alternator A to the load. Now, the design consideration, if we're going to go by the principle of electromagnetism as proposed by Faraday law of electromagnetism, some of these equations were put into consideration. Now, the parameter that we considered for the motor, you have a 12-volt DC motor, like I said earlier on, which we believe should not consume DC current maximally, let's say 8 amps. Then you have your DC motor, which is rated as 746 watts or 1 horsepower, which should be able to rotate between 2000 to 3000 RPM for it to be able to generate electricity. Now, the alternator, which is driven by the DC motor, the rail power that was considered is 650 watts. Then it should be able to give an output of 220 volts, maintaining the frequency of 50 hertz. Now, the alternator performance is determined by this equation 1, where Fe represents the electrical frequency. P is the number of poles. For this particular one, it has 2 poles, and the Nr is the alternator rotor speed. As earlier stated, we should be within 2000 to 3000 RPM per minute. All these are the further additional equations that support the design that is being considered in carrying out this particular work. Now, the voltage regulation, how efficient, assuming that if load is applied, does it suddenly drop in voltage? That is where we make use of the voltage regulation. But this particular study, as we progress, you see it, it has a fairly good voltage regulation, which makes it efficient enough as provided by equation number 6. P naught and Pi represent the output power and the input power as displayed by equation number 6. Now, the battery capacity, very, very important, because we don't want to connect this device to AC mains, no. So if this device must work effectively, then the capacity of battery that is considered must be sufficiently strong. Now, for this particular project, we propose 100 amp hour battery that if it should be given a 50% depth of discharge, how long will it last? Now, that is without the support of the photovoltaic, it should be able to last. We give maybe somewhat increase the power consumption to the current consumption to be 9 amps as against the 8 amps. Now you discover that for a 50% depth of discharge, the battery should last 5 hours, 34 minutes, which does not put the battery in any particular danger. But if it is not supported with the power we get from the sun through the photovoltaic, it means it will last longer. Actually, you can use it for a very long time within the day period. But what we are still trying to do in further research is to see how we could sustain the work. Assuming you use it throughout the day and it comes to a night period when there is cloud cover, or at night when there's no sunshine, what happens? So the research is still in progress to see how we could implement it, improve on this work such that it will work much more effective at night and times where there are cloud cover, maybe when we have rainfall. That will work on to improve on the work. Now, this picture here shows the testing without load and with load. This is a picture. Shortly, we'll show you a video of it, a section where we use a video to show the testing. Now, the testing A, that is without load, to measure and see how much of energy is being generated with this generator not being connected to AC power. Now you can see your the charge controller there and the fabricated device. Like I said, you can see how it looks like. It shows that these things were not bought new, but they were scavenged from parts that are no longer functional, parts that are considered to be thrown away. That's where we pick out all these things and use them to implement what is being presented here. Now the B part is where load is being connected to the generator. You can see 3 bulbs there. Those are incandescent bulbs and a standing fan, and they were powered appreciably. Now this one is testing the generator with load, but not with the photovoltaic. It's not a long period since we cannot play for a very long time. But let me just play so that you can see how it functions. Now this is making a test. That's 1 bulb has been put on. During this period, this is a time where readings have been taken to see how efficient the work is. That's the 2nd bulb has been put on. Progressively, that we've seen the voltage regulation. The 3rd incandescent bulb has been plugged in. You can see the 100 amp battery by the side. Now the fan is also plugged. So 4 loads we are plugged on. If you look closely, you see the AC power output is 222 volts. So it worked appreciably. For the sake of time, let me just pause it and continue. Now, this is a section of the result that we got in the course of the experimentation, when we have an average solar radiation of 902.89 watt per meter square. If you look at the input voltage, you have 12.39 volt, 12.32, 12.20, 12.10. That is, as the load increases, there's a little drop in the input voltage. If you also look at the output voltage, it's got that the difference is not too appreciable, which shows that there's a good voltage regulation. And if you follow through with the data here, you discover that the efficiency is between, let's say, averagely 76 to 88%, which we believe is a good response to load that is connected to the generator. Now, conclusion. Since we had it in mind to follow the SDG requirement, so far the project was able to meet up with SDG number 7 and SDG number 9. It's a clean source of power, no emission whatsoever. That is, if it is encouraged it supports the reduction of greenhouse gases that is giving us a lot of issue globally. It also decreases the reliance of imported power. But importantly, is that it will create opportunity for technological improvement. Why? Because as part of SDG number 9, talks of innovation, talks of industry and infrastructure. Those items would have been thrown away, but we discovered that there's wealth in waste, and that is what we've just been able to achieve. So far, testing the system with those incandescent bulb and the fan, we were able to conclude that very appreciably the device functions between 70 to 75%, and it is eco-friendly, producing no environmental contamination. In conclusion, also, it puts into use, like I said earlier on, the recycling of waste material for sustainable use. It drives technology advancement, which every developing nation will want to implement. I know in my own environment here, since we do have power outages with these devices, the cost of power outage will drop. It will drop significantly if this work is being encouraged. I want to sincerely acknowledge my university for providing the sponsorship for this particular work, and I will not go without appreciating ICICT 2025 for providing the platform for this presentation. These are my references, and I want to say thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Awaya, for your very interesting presentation. Really, enhancing green electricity is a very, very important nowadays. And did you apply your project somewhere else, only in Nigeria?
No, for now, it's only in Nigeria. Like it's basically a prototype.
Yeah, prototype, but I think it can be applied also in many other countries because the problem is very actual everywhere in the world nowadays. And I think it
That's
will
okay.
be a good perspective for your future
Yes,
development.
it will be. It will be. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Welcome. Are there other questions?
No, ma'am, no questions from my end. Thank you.
Then
Thank you
we
so
can
much.
go.
Yes, we'll go ahead, ma'am. Now I'll ask the next presenter to kindly start with your presentation. Sarah Annis, presenting our presentation paper titled FinTech Sentiment Analysis Using Deep Learning Models. If you are available with us, I request you to kindly take over with your presentation, please.
Yes, I'm available.
Yes.
Is my presentation visible now?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible right now.
Okay. Good morning. I'll be presenting the research paper titled FinTech Sentiment Analysis Using Deep Learning Models. And this is our presentation table of contents. We will explore each section as we navigate through the presentation. Okay, fintech or financial technology has transformed the financial services landscape. Innovations such as digital banking, peer-to-peer lending, mobile payment solutions have basically changed how consumers interact with financial institutions. The evolution of these services not only enhances convenience but also increases accessibility to financial services for a broader audience. As these services continue to evolve, it becomes very important for stakeholders to understand consumer sentiment. And this brings us to the concept of sentiment analysis. that involves computational identification of opinions in textual data. Sentiment analysis analyzes consumer feedback so we can gain valuable insights to consumer behavior and market emerging trends. Now let's take a look at the key objectives of our research. These objectives guide our investigation into the intersection of sentiment analysis and fintech. Our first objectives is to explore how sentiment analysis can be utilized to understand consumer sentiment towards fintech products and services. And building on our understanding of sentiment analysis, we will develop a transformer-based model for stock market prediction, specifically FinBERT, for classifying sentiments in financial text and predicting stock market movements. And to assess the effectiveness of our model, we will compare it against well-established models in the field. This comparison will help us identify strengths and weaknesses, providing a comprehensive evaluation of our approach. A critical aspect of our research involves evaluating the accuracy of the models to determine which model provides the most reliable sentiment classification in the financial domain, and also highlight the importance of domain-specific models that are tailored to special domains for improving the sentiment analysis outcomes. And finally, our research aims to provide valuable insights and recommendations for stakeholders in the fintech sector. Okay. How sentiment analysis have significantly changed over the years, beginning with the traditional models, which mainly include approaches like bag of words and sentiment lexicons. These techniques laid the groundwork for sentiment analysis by allowing us to quantify sentiment based on the presence of specific words. However, they come with notable limitations, and one major drawback is their inability to capture context and domain-specific expressions. For instance, phrases like not bad can be misinterpreted when analyzed only based on individual words, leading to inaccurate sentiment classification. In contrast, deep learning models like recurrent neural networks, long short-term memory, convolutional neural networks, and transformers, these tools have emerged as very powerful tools for sentiment classification. These models have shown improved accuracy and effectiveness through their ability to capture complex linguistic patterns and contextual nuances. Moreover, they are adaptable to various domains, including the fintech domain, making it suitable for a wide range of applications beyond just general sentiment analysis. So, what is FinBERT? Let's start by talking about BERT. BERT is a bidirectional encoder representations based on transformers. It mainly processes text bidirectionally, meaning it considers the context of a word on both its left and right surroundings. It's very important to understand the meanings of terms. Examples like FinBERT, BioBERT, Clinical BERT, all of these are different versions of BERT that are trained on data sets related to specific fields to learn its language and complexities. FinBERT is trained on massive financial data sets, allowing it to learn the complexities of financial sentiment and the specific context used in fintech sector. It also enables a better generalization, which make it more reliable for real-world applications in finance. And it's also very adaptable as it can be further fine-tuned for specific financial applications or data sets, which allow organizations to customize the model based on their specific needs. Our proposed system is based on the utilization of FinBERT for sentiment classification. FinBERT classifies sentiments into three categories: The first one is positive, which indicates optimism about the stock performance, often referred to as bullish sentiment. And conversely, the negative classification suggests pessimism or potential decline in stock prices, commonly known as bearish sentiment. The neutral category reflects a lack of strong sentiment, indicating uncertainty. This classification is crucial as it highlights situations where there is no clear direction in sentiment. And by utilizing Finbert to classify sentiment into these three categories, our system aims to provide a nuanced understanding of market sentiment. We've utilized two different data sets in our training and evaluation. The first data set is the Financial Phrase Bank. It's a publicly available data set that was first introduced in 2014 by Malum. It is comprised of English sentences chosen randomly from financial news in the LexisNexis database, and it serves as a benchmark dataset for comparing the performance of various sentiment analysis techniques, as it was labeled by 16 experts in business and finance. And the labels were given based on the annotator's perceptions and the agreement level between the annotators. In our case, we've used the 100% agreement level sentences comprised of 2,264 reviews. And the distribution of sentiment labels is 25.2% positive, 13.4% negative, and 61.4% neutral. And to further validate the robustness of the models, we conducted an additional round of training and testing using a different dataset called Twitter Financial News Sentiment Dataset from Kaggle website. It's an annotated corpus of finance-related tweets. This dataset is comprised of 9,543 reviews. Generally, we divide the input into two sets. 80% of the data is used for training and 20% for testing. And initially, we've loaded our pre-trained model called Process AI/Finbird from the Python Transformer library. Walking through the training process of the Finbird model, after we load our pre-trained Finbird model, we add a new classification layer, and then we apply a technique called layer freezing. This technique is used to freeze the layers of the Finbird model to prevent overfitting and speed up the training process by retaining pre-trained weights and learned features. We choose to freeze the early layers of the model and then keep the later layers unfrozen. Then we compile and fine tune the model by first training the classification layer and then gradually unfreeze some of the Finbird layers and continue training with a lower learning rate for fine tuning. After testing our model, we aim to evaluate how Finbird stacks up against other established deep learning models like convolutional neural network, long short-term memory, the foundational BERT. And the objective of this analysis is to evaluate the effectiveness of each model in accurately classifying financial sentiments. And we choose convolutional neural network and long short-term memory specifically as they offer different strengths in capturing spatial hierarchies and temporal dependencies, respectively. As the results show, that Finbert has stand out with an impressive accuracy of 97%. This high accuracy suggests that Finbert, being specifically tailored for financial text, actually effectively captures the complexity of context in the financial domain. And the CNN, the convolutional neural network, and the LSTM, they both performed very well with an 86% accuracy for the LSTM and 85% accuracy for the CNN. They both indicate that they are competing in handling the classification task, but they fall short for the FinBERT's performance. Conversely, BERT, which we actually used it as a baseline powerful tool for understanding the contextual word representations. Here it showed the lowest accuracy of 72%, which may reflect its general purpose design that may not be fully optimized for financial sentiment analysis tasks. And also in other evaluation metrics, FinBERT still outperformed all the models. This is the evaluation on the Freeze Bank dataset. Now, this is the evaluation on the other dataset, the Kaggle Financial News dataset. As we move
To
from
Sophia, ma'am, we have exceeded the 12-minute mark. I request you to kindly wind up as soon as possible, please.
Okay, this is the last slide. Um, as we move from the Freeze Bank dataset to the Kaggle Financial News dataset, we will observe a drop in accuracy, and this indicates that the model may be more optimized for the Freeze Bank dataset than the Financial News dataset. Although the FinBERT also outperformed all the models with a 78% accuracy. As we conclude all the points, I'd like to summarize the key points. This paper provides a comprehensive assessment of four deep learning models, CNN, LSTM, BERT, and the FinBERT. We compared the performance of the models across two different data sets. And FinBERT consistently outperformed other models with a 97% accuracy on the freeze bank and 78% on the Kaggle Financial News, which highlights the importance of using domain-specific models. We've also observed that LSTM and CNN both performed very well in both data sets, but may require future fine-tuning. While BERT, despite being a powerful model, in general, it is not effective for financial sentiment analysis. Moving forward to future work, we aim to further fine-tune FinBERT and BERT for improved performance and enhance generalization capabilities of the CNN and LSTM, and also explore hybrid approaches of multiple models. Thank you so much for attention and looking forward to any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. But I have a question because your research is based only on one bank, as I see. Do you think or not? As I understood, it is.
It's not related to a bank. It's financial text in general, based on the financial articles on the internet and human-generated content related to financial uh, banking stuff. It's not related to a specific bank.
Not only, but anyway, I think that neural networks also perform very well. What type of neural networks do you mean in your research?
We've used a convolutional neural networks and long short-term memory networks. The other model is the BERT model based on the transform.
Yeah, I understand. But anyway, I think that it is very difficult to make conclusions for all these models because all of them have advantages and disadvantages. Maybe the research should be enhanced to make more significant results. Because really it is, from my opinion, it is difficult to say that this model is the best for everything. And
No,
other
it's
models,
not best for everything, but it is based on our analysis on the different two data sets, it actually performed very well compared to other models on both data sets. We need to further validate our analysis,
Yeah.
yes, on different data sets to there is no model that actually performs the best among all other models, but maybe for specific applications or data sets, it can outperform other models.
Yes, that's what I mean, that you need to develop this research. Actually, the results are interesting, but really you need more research to conclude that
Yes.
this model is really better than others. Are
Yes.
there other questions?
Yes, I totally agree with ma'am. Uh, I have one suggestion. I think if you would have discussed the attributes or the parameters which you considered while selecting these models for comparison, it would have added some kind of, I would say, impact, more weight to your research, more positive validation to your work, right? So you should have discussed about the parameters consideration and why you selected only these models. And yes, third important thing, of course, what ma'am and you discussed, that the size of the data set also give different results for different models. So we cannot have a, I would say, a comparative analysis of all these four models depending on only one kind of data. So as you said that you will be, performing the experimentation considering the data of more fintechs. Uh, by that time, I think you will be in a better position to claim the results and the performance of one model over the other.
Yes, totally
This is a
considering.
good beginning of the
Yes,
research.
yes, we're actually working on
It
this.
should continue.
Yes, we continue working on this and even exploring other models to yani, give a broader analysis.
Yeah, so before that, I think you'll have to improvise your groundwork little bit. Uh, Once you have the clarity that what kind of data usually we have in fintechs, what kind of data they generate, they deal with, and then what kind of parameters would be justified for having a model comparison. So once you're over with this groundwork, I think you will be in a better position to defend the kind of models you've selected and the performance of the same.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Now I would like to call upon our next presenter, Varsha Nayak, presenting a paper on the title An Analysis of Cross-Lingual Natural Language Processing for Low-Resource Languages. If you are available with us, I request you to kindly take over with your presentation, please.
Yes, I'm available.
Yes, ma'am.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, it is visible right now.
Hello and greetings to everyone. I am Mrs. Varsha Naik, research scholar from TCCOE Pune, India. I'm presenting here my research topic, an analysis of cross-lingual natural language processing for low-resource languages. This is a study paper, and based on this, I am currently working on the Indian legal system and for the low-resource language. My co-authors are Rajeshwari K, Kshitij Jadhav, and Aniket Rahalkar. So cross-lingual, first I will talk about the high resource languages and low resource languages. So we can call English, French, and Spanish are some high resource languages, where the regional languages such as Marathi, Kokani, Gujarati are low resource languages. So in this study, we have discussed about the low resource languages and the different methods suitable for it. So cross-lingual NLP is a research field focuses on handling multiple languages in natural language context. So multilingual language model, we also call it as a MLM, revolutionizes steps in NLP where a machine or language models can understand multiple linguistic easily and simultaneously. So this study explores how NLP techniques can support cross-lingual information retrieval and translation, highlighting the need of robust multilingual NLP models that can handle diverse languages and linguistic features. Already in my previous presentation, Sarah has explained about the transformers such as BERT. So first I will talk about the challenges for low resource languages. So for the low resource languages, data set is not available. So lack of annotated data sets. Manual annotation is possible, but that is time consuming and expensive, making it impractical for large scale application. So I can take here example of a legal system where we have a longer judgments comprising 20-30 pages and more than 1,000 of sentences and tokens. So it is practically difficult to annotate such a huge data and for the large scale application. Then second is lack of unlabeled data set. Unlabeled data sets like text corpora are the precursors annotated versions, and they are essential for training based models, which are later fine-tuned. Then supporting multiple dialects of a languages. So these are some of the challenges of low resource languages. Talking about the research gap, after studying or doing the literature survey, what we have realized is there is a limited exploration of cross-lingual transfer learning techniques and model across a wide range of languages, particularly in low resource language settings. Lack of comprehensive evaluation and comparisons of different NLP approaches in terms of performance, scalability, and adaptability. Limited availability of resources for the high quality resources such as labeled data set, which I already talked about. So I will first talk about the transformer model family. Sahara has already talked about the BERT, GPT, Roberta, Bloom. Then again, there are different variations of GPT and so on. So this diagram typically presents a comparison of multilingual language models based on two factors. So on the y-axis, I have a non-English pre-training, which represents the percentage of training data that is in a language other than English. So non-English language. A higher position on the y-axis indicates a greater proportion of non-English data available during the pre-training. So we can find a Maharobota, which is at the higher level of y-axis. Then for the x-axis, degree of that is called as degree of multilingual. This likely indicates how well the model supports multiple languages. A model further to the right is more multilingual. So T5 is more multilingual. So key observations of this diagram is GPT-4 has a low percentage of non-English pre-training and appears less multilingual. But MBERT, XLMR, Bloom, MT5, XGLM are some of the models have high proportion of non-English training data, making them more suitable for multilingual operations. So I will briefly talk about the GPT-3. It is a generative pre-trained transformer, which is powerful language model developed by OpenAI. And it is useful for different NLP tasks, but it is not for monolingual. So the variations are like BERT and MBERT. Even BERT, which previous presentation talked about, is not multilingual. So a specialized version of BERT is MBERT, called as multilingual BERT, which is a variant of BERT again. It is trained on large corpus of multilingual data and has been widely used for cross-lingual tasks such as sentiment analysis, text classification, and question answering. So this MBERT basically uses a masked language modeling. We call it as MSM, which refers to the predicting the next word of sentences by learning from a surrounding words. So it is trained on nearly 104 languages. Similarly, we have XLM and XLMR. XLMR is similar to XLM, but it has more efficiency in terms of improvised performance. So it is again a variant of Robota model, a multilingual variant of a Robota model. It is trained on large corpus of multilingual data, and it has shown a good performance on various cross-lingual tasks. So it follows self-supervised learning, and it also covers 100 languages and performs multiple NLP tasks. MT5 is a state-of-the-art multilingual transformer model developed by Google Research. It is again designed for the various applications comprising sentiment analysis, text classification, and named entity recognition. It enables cross-lingual transfer learning by training on a large multilingual data set, and it is a valuable tool for cross-lingual NLP application. So these are the performance highlights: low resource languages, then cross-lingual transfer learning, transferability, and etc. So I have done a comparison of models like GPT and MT5. So as you can see here, MT5 is a multilingual version of T5, and it gives a good performance over GPT and MBERT. So I have done here this comparison for different regional languages such as Gujarati, Konkani, Hindi, and Marathi. After doing the rigorous surveys, first I tried to understand the challenges pertaining to these languages and how these models, multilingual models, behaves towards these languages. After doing this study, I have chosen Marathi as a language for my research work. So as I have written here as a future direction, so I am currently working on developing a legal system where a naive user can write a query in Marathi language, and then it will be processed through a knowledge graph and advanced models, and then the result will be given again back to the Marathi. So in conclusion, cross-lingual NLP techniques offer significant advantages for developing conversational system for low resource language, and MT5 had demonstrated improved language processing capabilities and performance in various NLP tasks. So these are some of the references. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. Here also we see comparing of models, and I also think that this is a good beginning, and this research also needs development.
Yeah, madam, I'm currently working on the system. I am developing a system, and at the moment I'm able to retrieve a name entity recognition for the Marathi language using LLM, but I have not yet got a good results on this because no one has started working on for this typical language.
Yes, of course. This is also a good beginning, I can say.
Yeah.
Are there other questions?
Yes, ma'am. So is this your research work?
Yeah, madam. Actually, this was a study paper which I wrote a few months before, and
So
currently I'm working
must
on
be a
develop.
part of your research work, isn't
Yeah,
it?
this is my part of my research work, and currently I'm developing a legal system for Marathi.
Okay. So how much time has been lapsed from the registration date?
Uh, I mean, what's...
How much time, I mean, you've
Yeah,
taken
recently
to
I have
consider
started this. Yeah, recently I have started.
Okay, so because it's just in the inception,
Yeah,
seems to be in the inception phase. Okay, so have you like planned for applying for any kind of grant or something for your work? Will you be
Yeah, I'm
required for
looking.
that?
Yeah, I'm looking for that. I'm looking. I'm also trying to connect with the government institutions where I can
Yeah,
get.
since it requires
Yeah, yeah.
full data,
I
so
yeah. I am in communication with the CDAC Pune
okay.
research work where I will get the resources. And
So from where did you get the data to work upon this? I mean, is there any
yeah.
reservoir?
So for this indianqanun.com is the website where we can get the English document. But recently in 24, they have also sharing judgments in Marathi. At
Yeah, that's what I
Bombay High Court. Yeah,
wanted to
Bombay
ask.
High Court. Yeah, it's a fortunate thing for me that I have got that data. Otherwise, I had to convert the English to Marathi with some translation, and then I have to work on that so that I can make
Exactly.
any naive query by the user.
Yeah, because we usually get it either in English or in Hindi. So I was
Yeah.
just thinking about it that how did you get it in Marathi?
No,
All right.
recently, the
So,
very few judgments are available at Bombay High Court. So,
but then I think that you need to increase these
yeah,
data set size, right?
yeah.
So,
So in
We
that
cannot
case, I
modify.
may populate using that translation, but the verification, at least for the verification testing purpose, I have a correct data with me.
All right. Okay. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much. Now I'll call upon our next presenter. Our next presenter is Al Rashid Ismail Muhammad Zaid, presenting a paper on the title Accessing Digital Innovation Data from Digitally Skilled Teachers in Bishay Province, Saudi Arabia. If you are available with us, I request you to kindly take over with your presentation, please.
Yes, thanks you.
Yes.
Let me share my presentation then. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. We can see your presentation.
Okay, thank you, panel. Thank you in advance. Audience, I would like to thank you in advance for participating in our paper and presentation session. Our paper for our work ID is 575, and it is assessing a digital innovation datasets by using a dataset chosen randomly and voluntarily from the teachers community in Bisha province in Saudi Arabia. In this regard, I would like to forward my thanks to my colleague, Dr. Ahmed Shahrani and Dr. Omar Al-Shihri for their contributions and for their efforts so as to perform out this work. This abstract outline our work really in this work we try to examine machine learning capability and efficiency for assessing digital innovation data sets in Saudi Arabia. The data set chosen from the local teacher here in the province. Our goal in this paper is to collect and build and represent a reliable digital innovation skill data sets by recruiting teachers to them from teachers who work in Bisha province, Saudi Arabia. This work includes these topics, and I will go to cover these topics: overview, data value, collecting data sets, and ICICT data sets. We can see how our data sets in statistical and demographical regards, then our methods and performance metrics, and we will show you some sample for the promising outputs. Then conclusion. Okay. The value of the dataset, assessing digital innovation metrics among teachers require collecting a real sample datasets and the total information awareness for the decision maker and stakeholders in educational fields demands a reliable innovation datasets, and the datasets offers us right information about features that affect or influence the development of digital innovation for the teachers. Also, the data are valuable for developing and managing or producing a training module program for the teachers here so as to promote their skills. Today, advanced research aspects recommend data shareability, reliability, and transparency. All these reasons motivate us to carry out this work. So demographic feature for our data sets, I can summarize it in terms of specific subject area. This study applies in the area of digital innovation features, identification, and classifications. First, we use classification and we carry out this study to identify the key features that affect or influence the local teachers here, so as to develop the whole educational function. The data format in this regard, data formats include raw data, analyze and filtered data. It's presented in the types of tables and charts and scalars and figures and graphs. Data collection, we carry out again one project to collect out the data sets, and it is dimensional. It's 400 by 50 dimensions. This means it includes 50 different questionnaires, and the participants and the subjects voluntary response, and each point represents a single teacher. Also, we collect the data set, pre-process it, and organize it, and upload it to make it available for the researchers reuse for investigation. Also, the data sources are in University of Bisha, the deanship of the Scientific Research University of Bisha in Saudi Arabia. Also, it is uploaded and can be accessed online through Malindi online store, data set store, via this link. In general, the data sets, all the data can be categorized into these different 5 types, either numeric or mapping data or sequence data or a set of data or Boolean data or hybrid from these categories. Digital innovation definition. Digital innovation is a method for developing new, enhanced, or good, or process, or service, or business model through the use of digital technologies, strategies. Digital innovation faces many challenges, and we can summarize it in these 6 points. First, digital innovation per a teacher here. The first challenge is the limitations in teachers' digital skills. We mentioned there is a limitation, clear limitations in the teacher digital skills. Also, there is a lack of innovative thinking regarding innovation skills. Also, an ineffective use and configuration of digital solution to enhance performance per the educational process, and insufficient utilization of innovation skills for effective data collective and analysis. Also, the cybercrime rate face or bound many teachers. All these challenges with nowadays AI aggressive trends also challenge the teachers. The previous work related to this work can be presented in this table, and this table presents a comparison between the findings of recent studies with those of ours here. If we try to conclude this table, we can mention the quite and clear variations between ours and the previous ones in terms of methods. For example, most of the previous work agree on quantitative and survey methods, but this use AI, generative AI, based on AI-based data sets. Also, we can mention the variations in the size of the data sets. Yeah, you can see the size of the previous ones. For the regions in this previous work, only this Heights University, Saudi Arabia, meets with us in the region, but this studies targeted students rather than teachers. The rest, some of them are open and in different from different regions here. The key varies in the comparison is the performance measures for the performance metrics used by those.
Excuse me, sir. Sorry to intrude between. However, we have crossed the 10 minutes mark. I request you to kindly wind up the presentation as soon as possible.
Now it is we reach 10 minutes.
Yes, sir. We have reached the 10 minutes.
So I should have to go fast. In this study, we categorize the innovation skills into different 5 categories. Those categories includes technical knowledge and collaboration and communication, problem solving, digital data analysis and big data analysis, and security. Carrying out the data sets require an ethical clearance, and in this study we get a permission from the scientific deanship from British University, and this outline is also we as author in this study extend our appreciation to the deanship of scientific research for funding this project under the grant UB Promising 271445, and would like to thank the volunteer teachers who offer us their data. This table reflects our activities during the collection of data, as we see, collecting raw data, validating data set, pre-processed data set, and examining the experiments, the period time, plus the discussion. This is the most important slide because it reflects or it presents a sample data set, and it is called a category. We see we have 400 data points. These 400 data points divided by gender. We can see the category 218 male and the rest female. For the ranking, also the study includes all the ranking categories for the teacher, from the expert teacher to teacher assistant. For the subjects, their subjects varies to include mathematics, science, and computer, English, Islamic, Arabic studies, and social and others, and their corresponding numbers and frequencies we can see. Also, we carried out this study because we would like to promote the teachers' knowledge and scalability in innovation aspect. So these questions asking them for how receive or not receive a training module about digital innovation? The answer yes, or the yes answers 145 and no 255, and this is very viable outcomes. Also in this study, we used Coronva alpha, and it is a statistical measure used to test and to examine the stability of the research tool. And here, for the 5 different innovation categories, data analysis and problem solving and collaboration and communication and digital security and technical knowledge, we can see the performance and the overall performance. It is 0.98, and the acceptable, however, the acceptable is 0.7, and this indicate the powerness of our study. This study shows a sample input-output data sets because we carried out it in Arabic. Yeah. Then after we get the data, then translated it to English, and for the simplicity and the clearance for the audience, we translated those questionnaires. Yeah. For example, question 2 F0 represent timestamp, and question 49 it was how you ever attend training courses in the field of developing digital innovation skills, and the responses yes or no. Yeah, this is just a sample, and each color represents a different. Here in this table, each color represents a different category. Also, carrying out the questionnaire dataset or the survey, we use a 5-point Likert scale for the research response from 5 to 1, and they are strongly agree, disagree, or agree, or neutral, or strongly disagree, and these are the outcomes for the survey. You can see strongly disagree or disagree. There are only 3, and this reflects significance of the study in the region. As we mentioned, feature selecting, we clean the data, we translate the data and clean the data, and then we use correlation coefficient and so as to read the contribution for each input to the specific target or output, and we use also the accuracy for the model. And this slide can present the chosen 7. And just those are the top ones, those 7 ones, and encoded as F12 and F13 and F84. Our methodology can be read as: first, we collect the data set, raw data set, translated it from Arabic to English, and then clean the data set and normalize the data set. Then
So we have crossed the 16 minutes mark also. I just request you to kindly wind up as soon as possible, please.
Okay. Then examine the classifier test, and the classifier test classification. We use the classification metrics. They are visual and scalars. Those are the scalars and visual. And these are some samples for the visual ones. AUC cave, area under the rock cave, and this slide shows a confusion matrix. And this slide shows the shapes values, and it is an algorithm employs a contribution of game theoretical field to find the final output, because the feature is assigned in this algorithm. The features, each feature assign an impact value for its contribution, and the overall calculated as presented. Also, machine learning. We examine many machine learning algorithms, and XGB classifier was the first one. And this is why we present the data and the results and findings regarding it. In conclusion, we successfully conduct a stable and reliable data set, and it is online at Malindi. Also, the data set was reviewed to meet the quality of the data sets regarding issues such as missing data or noisy data and outliers. So the study also for the futuristic, we will expand the study to include the whole Saudi region, the whole Saudi country rather than a single region. This is just a sample of our reference use. And finally, question and answer. Sorry for.
Thank you, Mr. Zed, for your interesting presentation. Really creating such a repository of teachers is very important. I have two short questions. The first one is, did you include the information for student evaluation in the repository? And the second is, how often do you update the repository? Because the information is changing very fast.
Thank you for the questions. The first questions regarding the data set regarding the students, we didn't extend our study for the students, but we read several contributions or several papers investigated the students, but we assess the data sets regarding teachers. Our
Yes,
target-
students' evaluation is an important factor, yes.
Yes. The second question, I didn't hear the question. You can kindly,
How often do you update the repository? Every year or every semester? Or... Because the information is changing.
Yes, you are right. Information is changing and rapidly changing, particularly these days. Based on our project and our fund, we will include the whole country data sets. Our estimation time is regarding, or it is about from 2 to 3 months. We will finish the whole surveying the whole country.
It's good, yes. 2-3 months is enough. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are there other questions?
No, ma'am, no questions from my end. Thank you.
With this, we come to the ending of our session. Thank you so much for presenting, sir. I sincerely thank our authors and for their excellent presentations and contributions in this session, and all our participants. For being a part of this international conference. I hope this session was informative enough. We, on behalf of the whole team, thank you for your support during this 10th version and all the other previous 9 versions of this conference. We will be happy to have you in the 11th version in 2026. All the presenters would be getting their digital certificates through email within the 2 working days. Further, all the papers have already been forwarded to the Springer. The publication will be live within 6 months. Kindly cooperate with the team of ICICT 2025. I would like to thank our session chairs. There's a token of appreciation from our team. I would like to display it to you.
Thank you.
We thank Professor Kuvasheva. Ma'am, would you like to say a few words before we end the session?
Okay, thank you. First of all, I want to thank all presenters for their very interesting presentation. They shared with us their dear ideas in different fields, and it was really very useful for all of us. I wish all of them successful continuation of their work, and I hope to meet them soon again.
Mhm.
All the best for all.
Future. Thank you so much, ma'am. A second token of appreciation for Professor Neha Tiwari. Thank you so much for being session chair for us, ma'am, today.
It has been my pleasure to be a part of this knowledge sharing informative session. All the best to everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for chairing our session. Now, what I'd like to request all of you all to please switch on to your camera so that we can have a quick snapshot of this virtual session we just attended. All the participants and the presenters, we request you to kindly switch on your cameras for a quick snapshot of this virtual session. Thank you. Thank you so much to all. Now we all can log out our systems. Thank you so much for being present for the session. Thank you.
Sorry, I
Thank
have a
you.
question. I just have a question.
Yes, sir.
I should present my work at 11:45 GMT. So I don't know if I have to log in after, but I should be scheduled for 11:45. As I've seen. For this, I joined this session. Mm, I don't know. Maybe I need a little help in understanding which time I should.
Join in. Okay, let me just check, please. 1 second.
So actually your presentation is scheduled for the session 9C and you're the first presenter, I guess. So you will have to log in the meeting again after
Okay.
15 or 20 minutes. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. See you
Yeah.
later.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.